Napa in 1950 was home to fewer than 14,000 people. Its one major industry was Basalt Rock Company, which had expanded during World War II to build ships. The rest was farming. The major crops were walnuts and prunes. Napa had a small hospital built in 1929. By mid-century, though, Park's Victory Memorial Hospital was overcrowded and impossible to expand enough to serve the growing community. Napa's community leaders determined to raise the money to build a new hospital. Joining them was a young World War II vet named Jim Maggetti.
I enjoyed being involved because I knew most of the people at the startup, I think.
So both my grandfathers were very involved in town. So my grandfather Streblow had Basalt Rock Company and the shipyard acres and all that. And then my grandfather Frummelt had the Al Rexall, so he was one of the local pharmacists in town. And so, as was Jim Maggetti's father, was also a pharmacist. They were both on a corner on downtown. And then my uncle, who was Superior Court judge in town.
They were all leaders in the community. They determined that the Park's Victory was inadequate for the needs of the community and decided to do something about it, so they did something about it.
It took determination and tremendous generosity from lots of people. But by the late 1950s, Queen of the Valley Hospital was open for business. But of course, that wasn't the end of the road. It was only the beginning.
Once the structure is there and the staff is there, and you start to equip it, you realize how expensive it is.
Almost immediately, there was need for expansion, more space, more equipment. Additional campaigns sprung up on an ad hoc basis. By 1969, it was obvious that the Queen needed a separate nonprofit foundation, one that could keep pace with the growth of the community and the evolving demands of modern healthcare. The first foundation board boasted many familiar names from the original campaign, plus a few newcomers.
There was a fair amount of Streblow, Consgard, Frummelt involvement in the Queen. My father, Jack Streblow, was also on the board.
Walter loved it. The people who were on the foundation at that point in time were friends of his. He worked for the Bank of America. I guess he was the manager there. I mean, the community was so small then that everybody knew everybody.
The Queen of the Valley and Justin Sienna are two named beneficiaries in the Gasser Foundation founding documents, along with Ducks Unlimited, but that's another story.
We had just moved here, didn't know anybody. Tom has always believed in health and education. Those are the two things that he has always fostered. Didn't know there was or wasn't a hospital. We didn't know anything about it except that my husband was interested in starting to grow grapes.
This was a time when the Napa Valley began to gain notice for growing something besides prunes and walnuts. And the newcomers growing grapes and making wine created a new kind of donor.
My father got involved with the foundation because my mother encouraged him and felt that with his energy and leadership that he could make a contribution to the hospital. And she was essentially the guiding light and the cheerleader. My mother, Marjorie, was a very quiet but a very determined lady, and he learned how to say yes, dear, quite often.
While the Queen's Foundation supported the next decades of the hospital's growth, the vision of its potential began to expand. As the Valley became synonymous with excellence in wine, it attracted people who also demanded excellence in healthcare.
This hospital has something special going for it. I think it has donors and people that are involved that are not willing to settle for second best.
The Queen and the community here has set up a very comprehensive neurological program here. So we have neurology and neurosurgery and trauma surgery here on call 24/7. For a hospital of this size in the small community, that's actually pretty unique.
Our ED is constantly looking to improve the care we deliver. There is emerging technologies that are always on the forefront, and we've been able to count on the foundation to support those technologies.
In the past decade alone, Queen of the Valley Foundation has helped build the Herman Family Pavilion, equipping it with the Valley's first hybrid operating room, one of the country's most sophisticated clinical laboratories, the newest Da Vinci robotic surgical system, a state-of-the-art intensive care unit, and a comprehensive neuroscience center in collaboration with UCSF. During its 50-year history, Queen of the Valley Foundation has raised and spent over $110 million community-donated dollars. What we've learned is that nothing remains constant in healthcare. Not the technology, not the economics, not the demographics, not the politics. The one enduring fact is, in a quest to deliver the best healthcare available, the road we started down 50 years ago never ends.